Welcome to the Political Campaign Boot Camp. My name is Stephen Scott. Thank you for joining me. We've got a lot of ground to cover today and not a whole lot of time to do it in. So I'm asking if you have questions during our time together, message them to me, scottwright at solutions51 or scottwrightandassociates@gmail.com. That way I can get a clear understanding of what you're asking and give the best possible response. In this session together today for Political Campaign Boot Camp, I'm going to address 4 categories of the campaign process. I consider these 4 categories the most important part of the campaigning process. Number 1, incumbent, challenger, name identity. We will share effective techniques to get your point across, message out, and specifically how people will view you. Number 2, fundraising. It takes a lot of money to run a political campaign. We will communicate successful methods on how to determine how much money you need and where to get it from. Number 3, campaign managers and teams. A political campaign team has a lot of moving parts daily. Regardless of how well you plan out everything, something is going to change. We'll help you set up a system to determine who, why, and how many people you need and how to manage that team effectively. And number 4, ground game specialist. This is where the rubber meets the road. Get out the vote. If everything you've done well, but you don't get out the vote, you haven't done anything. It's all for naught. So, we will share proven procedures on how to do that. Execute these 4 categories well, and your odds of becoming the next candidate or incumbent holding on to your seat are greatly improved. Now, to those of you who are listening intently, I did not say win. I said improved greatly. The win part is determined by how well you and your team work together and execute everything I'm sharing with you today. One last thing. In everything we do, there are 3 things that we do unconsciously. It's called purpose, process, and I'm going to use the word results. They usually say 3 P's, purpose, process, payoff. But since I'm talking about politics, I dare not use the word payoff. So I'm using the word results. Now, look at it this way. Purpose, you wake up in the morning. Process, whatever you go through to get ready for the day. Results, whatever took place that day. For this session, Political Campaign Boot Camp, we're going to focus on purpose, getting you up. So let's get started. Number 1, incumbent, challenger, name identity. I have some items I want to show you that candidates use to improve and get their name identity out. Here's a handout. Here's another handout or a mailer. It's Spanish on one side, English on the other side. Another candidate featured their family, larger mail out. Another had a huge informational mailer that they put out. T-shirts. Everybody, all candidates, as well as those, use T-shirts. And everybody has yard signs. So the question that's asked of me by my clients, should I put my picture on my promotional material? So I asked them the question, when you go to vote, what do you see? Do you see a picture or do you see a name? They say, I see a name. So they inadvertently answered their question. But pictures, your picture, the candidate or challenger's picture on their campaign material is good if it's a, in my opinion, if it's a gateway sign. I'll get into what a gateway sign is when we get to talking about the ground game. But if it's a gateway sign or those large billboard signs, your picture is great there. Incumbent, challenger, name identity. Before we dive into that, I got to talk about a pet peeve of mine, and it's called term limits. I believe every political position should have a term limit on it. No politician should hold any one particular seat for more than 8 to 10 years. 8 to 10 years. Term limits. I don't care what it is. We focus on, my firm focuses on local politics. Local to us is state, county, and city. No politician should hold one seat for more than 8 to 10 years. After that, move around. Run for another seat. But let that seat go and let some new blood get in there, new ideals, and that's a large reason why we have voter apathy. People saying, well, I'm not going to run, I'm not going to go vote, so-and-so is already going to win, it's a done deal. No, it's not a done deal. We've got to get you back out into the voting process, and term limits will help make that happen. Now, if I'm an incumbent and they're sitting there and they're watching this and they're hearing, well, we already got term limits. That they vote for me every time. Yes, they vote for you every time you come up for re-election. But because of voter apathy, people will sit at home and say, it's a done deal. They're going to win anyway. And you end up winning. And your incumbent or your challenger doesn't have enough wherewithal, haven't planned it out right, and you're still there. But term limits will uproot you from that seat and have you focused on another seat or another position, and bring some new blood into the campaign or political arena. Now, that's my position, and I'm sticking with it. Let's get back to incumbents and challengers' name identity. Beginning in 2020, the election cycle in 2020, name identity is going to be extremely important. As a matter of fact, huge in fact. Now, name identity has always played a large part in the election process, but again, in 2020, it's going to be a game changer. Why? The political party affiliation coattail effect has swept a lot of people into political office. What am I talking about? If you're running for state representative, county commissioner, a sheriff, or judge, just to name a few, and you're a member of the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, the Independent Party, and your party is a dominant party in the area from which you live in, then you have the odds-on favor of winning. I live in Dallas County. In Dallas County, Democrats are the #1 party. So a Democrat wins most every election. Matter of fact, the Democrat that wins in the primary has an odds-on favor to win in the general election some 4 months later. That's called the political party coattail effect. And it has worked extremely well. It has put people into office, important political office, whom most people don't know anything about. They go in to vote and they've got in their mind the 1 or 2 people who they want to vote for. I'm talking about the general election side. The 1 or 2 people that they want to vote for, and they say, well, is that a Democrat or whatever their particular party affiliation is? Well, forget that. They're that, boom, they hit that straight party ticket and everybody on that list gets in. And guess what? You don't know everybody on that list, and everybody on that list hasn't tried to get your attention so that you would get to know about them. So that person that's on that Democratic Party list, talking general election, didn't have to work for your vote. They had to work in the primary to get there. But when it came to the general election part, they didn't have to work at all because the coattail effect was in full effect. Well, guess what? That's over with. The straight party voting ticket option in 2020 is off the table. The party political coattail effect is still there, but I don't know how strong it's going to be come general election time. That means that the incumbent, the sitting person right now in office, needs to be paying diligence to how secure their name identity is in the marketplace and how solid their voting base is. Now that's for the incumbent. For the challenger, that means you've got a good chance of unseating that person. Because if you've got good community ties, I'm talking about the challenger. If you've got a good name identity, I'm talking about the challenger. If you've got a reasonable action plan, you can unseat that incumbent. Now, in our process side, we talk about how the incumbent could re-entrench themselves and fight off a challenger. Also in our process side, we talk about how the challenger can uproot and unseat that incumbent. But for this part of the political campaign boot camp, we're only focused on purpose, not process. Process is the steps that must be taken to achieve sought results. Process and purpose are both addressed in the political campaign manual, and you need to get that manual. But right now we're only talking about purpose. Incumbent, challenger, purpose. The reason why things must be done. Incumbent, challenger, name identity. Purpose. The reason why specific things are done. There are 8 specific things listed. Community forums, community leaders, political leaders, social media, electronic media, television and radio, print publications, community rallies, neighborhood meetings. Adjacent are the reasons why. Alongside purpose is process, the steps taken to achieve sought results. Through the use of the manual, you'll see clear and precise steps needed to be taken and the results you need to achieve and measure your degree of success. Incumbent, challenger, name identity. When I was thinking about the campaign manager and team members, I was trying to put a symbol together in my mind what it represents, and a family photo came to mind. Because they operate for 90 days like a family. Now the hierarchy of this family, of course, is the candidate, followed by the campaign manager, followed by the finance manager, who sometimes doubles as the fundraising coordinator. And then there are the core members of this team. Could be 1, could be 3, could be 5, could be 7. It all depends on how much money the campaign has. Because the more money the campaign has, the more specialized each member of the team can be in their function. And they operate on their functions with tunnel vision. All they care about, all they think about, all they're working on is what that function is, and at the end of the day, every day, they sit down individually with the campaign manager and they go over all of their functions. And then the campaign manager compiles all this information and then meets with the candidate to let the candidate know where everything is. And every morning, when this starts all over again, the team, each one of those members, along with the campaign manager, sits down and surmises what had happened the day before and what we're doing today, and each one of the people will get different marching orders as to, okay, you did this yesterday, that's good, I need you to focus on. That's how that functions. I mean, it's not any different than much or many other office operating things, except for this is a 90-day function, and they are laser focused on what they need to do. Now, I am going to share with you the processes of each one of these functions, but we're talking about purpose today. The process has to do with their step-by-step duties for day-to-day, but the purpose has to do the reason why specific things are done. You're going to get the processes in the manual, which I hope you get, but let's focus on the purpose, the reason why specific things are done. Campaign managers and team. Purpose. The reason why specific things are done. There are 8 specific things listed. Volunteer recruitment. Key partner consolidation. Base solidification. Phone bank. Mail-in voters. District separation. Campaign promotions. New voter registration. Next to specific things are the reasons why. Beside purpose is process, the steps needed to achieve desired results. Through the use of the manual, you'll see clear, precise steps needed to be taken and the results you need to achieve and measure your degree of success. Campaign managers and team. They are the Navy SEALs of the campaign process. All of their work is done outside. When a yard sign needs to be hung, it's the ground game specialist. When neighborhoods need to be canvassed, it's a team of the ground game specialists, knocking on doors, hanging door hangers, taking information from residents for the candidate. It's the ground game specialist. These are all volunteers, ground game specialists. When it's time to go vote and you go to the voting poll and there are people there handing out specific information for their particular candidate, they are ground game specialists. Now, I'm going to show you some of the processes, and all of this is in a manual about the processes, but right now I'm talking to you about the purpose, the reason why specific things are done. The ground game specialists, the Navy SEALs of the campaign team. Ground game specialists. Purpose, the reason why specific things are done. There are 4 things listed: gateway signs, yard signs, neighborhood canvassing teams, poll sitters. To the right of specific things are reasons why. Across from purpose is process, the steps taken to achieve preferred results. Through the use of the manual, you'll see clear and precise steps needed to be taken and the results you need to achieve and measure your degree of success. Ground game specialist. I do not need to be in that candy jar. Campaign financing. Before I get directly into campaign financing, I want to speak about contribution levels and maximum amounts of money. There should be a campaign contribution level and there should be a maximum amount of money that a campaign can spend. Once you get those 2 things, and there is a contribution level on some races, but there is no maximum level any race can spend. So you need to get your arms, we need to get our arms around that and get those levels in place so more people can get into the political process. With that being said, that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. So let me get to campaign fundraising. There are 3 things you should know about campaign fundraising. Number 1, the candidate is the primary fundraiser. Number 2, how much money do we need to raise? And number 3, where do we get that money from? Well, here's what you do. You ask yourself the question, and that's the chicken and the egg syndrome that you're going through. Should we figure out how much money we need to get this, to do this, or this, and then we'll go out and get the money? Or do we start to go out and get the money? Does the candidate get on the phone right now and start calling, hey, I'm done, and talk, have a conversation and set up those meetings so that they can then go explain their position and ask for the money? Well, the answer is you do both. Because regardless of how much money you raise, you'll never have enough money. Both in life and in campaigns, I'm telling you. The money allows you to make the necessary adjustments on the fly that you need to make. Now the key here is, the watchword here is necessary. Now I'm going to break this down in a totally different format. The money that you get, that you're out trying to raise in Dallas, I'm speaking about, and there's some 14 different districts that make up Dallas. And not all, some are wealthy, some are not as wealthy as others. So here's what you do if you're a candidate, depending on wherever you are, but I'm going to suggest this to you. Let's say you're in not one of the more wealthier districts in Dallas. And there's 14 of them, as I said, in the city of Dallas. In the county, I think there's 740 something, but it doesn't matter. What does matter is, in my district, and it's not one of the wealthier districts, and then I would be out trying to run my campaign, and so I'm going to be knocking on the door, and I'm trying to get $25. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, does it? $25, but $25 from a family that's living on an annual income of, let's say, $25 to $35 to $40,000. That's a lot of money, because if they choose to pull money, and $25 is no money, until at the end of the day your child says, "Daddy, I need blah blah blah," and that $25 you gave over here was the $25 you could have gave, then that's a lot of money. But I digress. Let me get back to the point. You got $25 from this family, from this person. If you got $25, just $25 from 2,400 people, that's $60,000. On the other hand, you've got $20,000 from 3 people outside of your district, and that's $60,000. Well, let me tell you the difference between those two $60,000. That $60,000 that you got from your constituents, those 2,400 people will translate into votes, as well as that $60,000 helping to run your campaign. That $60,000 that you got outside of your district, which you need, and we'll show you how to do that in the process side, just as we'll show you how to do to raise that 24, get those 2,400 people contributing to your campaign. But that $20,000 from 3 people that turned into $60,000 doesn't necessarily translate into votes. But I got on to a whole nother thing there. This session 1 is about purpose. The process side, where I'm going to show you, we're going to show you how to raise this money that you need for your campaign. It's in the manual, and you need to get that manual. But right now we're focusing on the process side, the purpose side, I'm sorry, the purpose side. And the purpose side is about the reason why you do specific things. Fundraising. Purpose, the reason why specific things are done. There are 6 specific things listed: current donors, viral fundraising events, mobile ability, tag and thank you, crowdfunding, silent auctions. Bordering specific things are reasons why. Diagonally from purpose is process, the steps taken to achieve required results. Through the use of the manual, you'll see clear and precise steps needed to be taken and the results you need to achieve, and measure your degree of success. Fundraising. That's phase 1 of the Political Campaign Boot Camp Seminar, and I trust you found it informative. Everything shared today is backed by real-life experiences that I've gotten as a political campaign consultant. No fluff, no hype, no theory, just verifiable facts. Purpose and process. Purpose is what we address today, the reason why specific things are done. And at your leisure, I ask you to review what we've covered to reinforce your knowledge base. The process phase, the steps that must be taken to achieve required results, well, that's all in the manual, which I hope you get. The combination of purpose and process in the manual, it better equips you to guide you through the campaign course of action. Now, everything we covered also, it reflects on incumbents, it reflects on candidates, it talks about campaign managers, it talks about finance managers, it talks about ground game specialists, or just those of you who might be interested in the campaign process. This works for you. And also, everything we talked about transcends borders, meaning everything in here, if you're in California, if you're in Arizona, Alabama, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, or even for sure in Texas, this works for you. So what I'd like for you to do is to go to scottwright at solutions51 and click order and order the manual. Or should you need hands-on from us, we'd love to do that, click SWA Assistance. My name is Stephen Scott. It's been my pleasure, and the next opportunity we get to meet, I'm looking forward to it. So until then, victory.